Yes, Jonathan, hey, thank you so much for joining today. I appreciate it. I really do appreciate you coming forward and wanting to speak and, getting in contact. I feel like this is a very, very interesting story, one that is very traumatic. And before we dive deep, I do just commend you for having the courage to come forward, especially as a man. It's very difficult, but I definitely commend you. So please introduce yourself for those who might not know who you are.
I'm Jonathan Hay. I've been in the music business for 30 years. I'm trying on some different shades, trying to look like my opposition, Big Homie BC. Big Homie BCC. What's his name? Big Homie CC.
Big hobby CCS. I think
I'm,
he's
tr-
moved to London or the UK or
oh,
something like that.
thank God. I'm just kidding. Listen, Big Homie CC, if you're watching this, please don't kidnap me again. Anyways,
I'm loving the shades.
thank you. Anyways, but you know what is weird? It just made me think, and I love your show. It's
Thank
you're
you. I appreciate it.
hilarious as well. You're hilarious.
Thank you.
So I figure we try to make this as light as possible because
That's how I do
everybody,
it. You know what I mean? Even though it's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah,
It's just crazy. Yeah.
because all these other ones have been bleeding out. So I was looking forward to speaking with you.
I appreciate
Right.
it.
Outside the Largo Police Department tonight. So, Jennifer, who is this complainant?
Well, his name is Jonathan Hay, who lives in Largo. He says he's known Diddy in passing since 1998. And this past September, turned to Largo police officers for a criminal investigation. He says the defendants in this case conspired to sexually assault him.
When I look back at it, at the incident, so I'm gonna try to be as vague as possible. But
Please. Yeah.
the first incident that's in the report was Biggie's shirt. That happened, and that caused the chain reaction that led to the really traumatic event, right, of being completely violated.
Mhm.
And even with Biggie's shirt, that was a violation of, as me as
Absolutely.
well,
Absolutely.
and it's a violation of Biggie.
Yeah.
And
That's
it's
how I
just
took
it's
it.
like, it's just crazy, right? But that incident, because I didn't tell CJ Wallace right away, because it's like I'm showing up on the set,
Yeah, you wouldn't.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're meeting each other for the first time. They have all these film crew, they have all these people there, and this happens. A lot of people have said, "Well, why didn't you go out and tell anybody?" It's like,
Absolutely.
there's tons of people there. What am I gonna do? I'm just
Mm.
meeting everybody for the first time. High insight. I wish I would have walked away because it would have prevented that traumatic. Anyways, when CJ and I got closer, and he was someone that I really trusted, and he would talk about what he's been through with his father being an icon who passed away at such a young age. I wanted to wait until after the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, before his dad was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, before I told him. And so then I told him, and he reacted. He was surprised. He was angry, and he said that let him process it. And then it was either that night or the next day I received, I got a call from his partner, Willie Mack, and said the project is over. You're going to get a cease and desist. Don't talk about the project, da 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 da. Well, weeks later, CJ and Willie, they call me, they apologize, and they're like, we want to pick you up. Are you still in LA? I'm like, yeah, I'm still in LA because I brought like everybody with me. Everybody was excited to work on Biggie. So we had a whole team of people in Los Angeles, right? So the whole thing was like embarrassing. And honestly, I regretted it. I was like, this is why I should have kept my mouth shut because they killed the project for a minute. But anyways, so they picked me up and I was like excited that okay, we're getting the band back together. That's what happened with his dad clothing is out. Now we can just focus on the project. But when they picked me up, it was very quiet in the car. And usually that's not the case at all with them, especially when you're dealing with the Notorious B.I.G. estate and Bad Boy Records.
Right.
They usually have all kinds of talking points. And I was asking them, like, as they're driving me over, what single are we going to promote? Because we had done the Big Papa House mix that came out that was, on a lot of big publications. So I was like, what's the next single we're going to push? What are we going to talk about? And they were like, oh man, we're just going to let it flow type ish. And, I should have known then that it was a trap, but we're, smoking a blunt. And I go to the location and, um, that's when Diddy and his guys pop out. And then the rest is in the lawsuit and the
In the
complaint.
book. Yeah.
It was very violent. It was very angry, and people, I've seen comments where people are like, well, why didn't you bite it off?
What do you
It's
mean by
like
bite it off? What does that mean? Like,
when he was doing what he was doing
oh,
to me.
oh,
Right.
okay. Sorry. Yeah.
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 They're like, well, like, why didn't you bite it off? And it's just like, first of all, you're in that situation, you're traumatized and you're shocked
Completely.
and everything else. And then like if I bite it off or fight, I'm outmanned here. Diddy, his two guys, CJ Wallace,
Yeah.
Willie Mack,
Yeah.
his brother. Then what's gonna happen? Then they're gonna violate me even more. And that's one of the things that Gene Deal was talking about. But Gene Deal was like, "Yo, I would never let my manhood, give away. I would fight till the death." Okay, I'm not trying to fight till the death,
Agreed.
right? I'm trying to stay alive. And then what? They're gonna knock me out, and then I'm not gonna be violated in my mouth, but I'm gonna be violated in other places. Or what's gonna happen from that, or be killed or be murdered. Like I have a family, I have friends. Like
And even thinking about getting jumped, that isn't even the first thought. The first thought is what is going on? What is this person
exactly,
doing? So as like I myself have been through SA, so I can completely understand that when a man is essaying another man, suddenly there's a conversation about manhood or your masculinity has been taken. All of that is just to me complete BS because you're being essayed by another individual. And so I understand the mind and what it does in that moment. You go into defense mode. You don't go into let me try and do something to harm somebody because then everybody
yeah,
you're not gonna do that's not your instinct. Your instinct is to protect yourself. So yeah, I
yeah.
completely understand your process.
It's it's shock. It's not like you can think. Like looking back, yeah, I could have done so many things differently.
But that's just
I could have,
hindsight. Yeah, that's just
you
natural
know,
human thought. Is that even when you have an argument with somebody, oh, I should have made this point. I should have said this. Like you're always going to think of
correct.
you could have done better. But I think that that thought process is quite negative, and rather we should just have grace for ourselves to be like we didn't know better at that moment of time. But at the end of the day, you want to protect yourself. That's priority, and you're going to find any way to do it.
Absolutely,
So yeah,
absolutely.
I completely understand. I just feel like when men have conversations of men going through SA, they always try to make it sound reductive and they water it down and they say, "Oh, you could have done this," or "I would have done that to fight to this," and it's just like you wouldn't have. Your body freezes. We're all human at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this whole masculine and non-masculine, it's all just a construct that we've made up, really and truly. But the SA, what it does to your body, you freeze. And it's insane that Diddy would have the madness in him to do this to women and men because, this is a way of control and a way of like telling you off and, don't do this again. And it probably worked for a lot of people. They would freeze. They don't want to be told off and go through that again. So it's very insidious and traumatizing. But yeah, I just think that other men, when having this conversation, they really make it sound reductive.
And I hate to say I'm a victim. I'm trying to change that wording to survivor, right? And not victim. I know there's so many victims out there, right? And that's, let's look at it as we survived those incidences. We're still here,
Right,
right? And that's another thing too, is the after the after the after Diddy was found, not guilty and guilty on some, right? A lot of the people I know, the victims who have lawsuits and civil suits, they felt defeated, right? And like, oh, now what's going to happen? And then they've also felt defeated with this, rumor mill of Donald Trump is going to pardon him, right? So
right.
a lot of these people feel defeated and they can't win, but they can, right? I'm getting serious traction right now,
Serious
through the police,
traction.
through the police department, and I'm getting a lot of support. I'm getting a lot of hate, right?
That
From
happens, especially when men come forward, or just
and that's
anybody
okay,
in general. Yeah.
and that's okay. I mean,
Mhm.
whatever, you know.
It's super bizarre to me, why people would, want to hate somebody coming forward with a story like this. I don't understand. It's just men. Men in general just think that will probably assume, I haven't seen any critique of you yet, but probably would assume you're a liar or you're doing it for money or that, you're making this up. It's probably the first instinct that people would say, and it's just sad.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, this isn't something that you want to
Right.
come out and say,
Right.
right?
But you
Right.
don't want to identify yourself and say, Diddy did this to me. Like people don't want to, you know.
My like my family and friends,
Absolutely.
everybody knows about it, so you feel a little bit weird, when you're around people,
Because you're
you
thinking, like, well,
know.
what do they think? And yeah,
Absolutely.
such
And it's
strong. Yeah. Sorry, continue.
yeah, and as far as money, there's been no money made. Right. And I know that because civil suits take years, right? They can, but that's what I'm saying. My fight is for, and everybody, a lot of people told me, oh, just, focus on the civil suit. But I want justice. And once we filed the lawsuit and once that went viral, it gave us, put some points on the board and some strength where finally we could get the police's attention. I want CJ Wallace in handcuffs, Willie Mack in handcuffs, and I want Diddy when he gets out of jail, right? And Fort Dix, which is appropriate name for where he's at. I want him to face the music in California because California doesn't play.
Period.
I wish I could throw gang signs and be like West Coast, but anyways,
I really do wish you the utmost luck with
thank you,
this.
man.
I really do. You've got my full support with this case, and I'm obviously so sorry what you've gone through, but I commend you because you're persevering
Yeah,
massively. And I think that this will triumph. And I think that's the attitude that we should have. Everybody's picking this story up. People are speaking about it even here in London. So I think that it's really going places.
right.
So I just commend you and I wish you all the best of luck. And thank you for your time today as well, man.
Yeah, thank you, man. Really appreciate it.
Honestly, I appreciate it. I can't even imagine how you're even doing, like when you keep doing interviews and you keep, talking about it. It's just, yeah.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do it, but I
R-
fully commend you.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. But you know what's weird is like through all this, like when the story came public, I've really created this weird beef with Gene Deal,
Interesting.
right? And he's been going back and forth. Our emails that we send to each other are like so crazy. And he like wants to meet up and like fight. And I'm like, bro, we would look like sumo wrestlers together, right?
Not Zumo. I'm screaming.
I'm like, what would that look like? So anyways, Gene Deal's upset. So shout out to Gene Deal,
Shout
you
out to
know,
Julio. Yeah. I wonder why
you
is he
know.
upset though? Like that seems a bit random.
Yeah, because I made a comment about him because he had said something about me.
Right.
And when I was a John Doe, and he had came out and said these lawsuits aren't real. They're just trying to get CJ Wallace. That
Right.
was a that was an awful big homie CC impression. But anyways, he said he was like saying how that this was an attempt to get money from the CJ Wallace from the Notorious B.I.G. estate. But that's not it. This has been going on for years. And it's been public now, yes, but I started the lawsuit with my law firm at the beginning of the year. Right? That's when we started doing this. Before CJ Wallace sold, his share of his dad's catalog with Primary Wave Music. So it has nothing like so he's crazy. So I referenced him and then he got upset. And then he got upset when I said that Biggie was the greatest bisexual rapper of all time.
Right.
Right.
It's
And
kind of
he's like,
embarrassing. Yeah.
and
Like,
he's like, how does he know that? And he was like, there's no way he could have learned it from CJ because he was only 4 months old.
mm,
It's like, yo, CJ's growing up with his family and his uncles and cousins on both sides, Faith Evans and um, Biggie, right? So he's heard about his father being bisexual, and it wasn't anything that he was trying to conceal. Like the project, this is how I got involved with CJ Wallace and Diddy on the project that we did. We did the Notorious Big reimagined his house and techno music, right? And it was in 2020, and they wanted to make it like openly um, diverse,
Mm.
and they wanted to be an openly gay project, right? As they put it out in the press too. They wanted to, bring in the the brown queers, trans,
Right.
everything else. They weren't hiding it. And the reason that CJ wanted to do that was because he felt like he could finally honor his father's legacy. So that's why I spoke those things. So then it created a beef. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe Gene Deal and Biggie were lovers. Who knows? But
God,
he got
how
upset. He got upset.
I feel like people do get quite emotional during this whole P. Diddy case when their names are mentioned, and I just honestly find it to be so interesting. But
I can't really speak too much about the case because
of course, mm,
because it is a lawsuit. But the reason that I spoke out, and the reason, because my law firm put me as a John Doe, right,
right,
to protect my entity and to protect my identity and everything else. But I wanted to come out as myself because of the criminal investigation that we're doing, right? And as you've seen probably in the news reports, and I'm learning this from the news reports, is that because these investigative journalists, they're contacting like the Los Angeles police and stuff. I found out from a news agency that the Los Angeles police had turned it over to district attorney for the prosecutors, right? And so that got me really excited, and they've been confirming this in the media. I haven't heard this. So, this strategy of coming out publicly is working because
absolutely.
if it is with the district attorney, that means, the detectives gather the case, then they present it to the prosecutors, the district attorney, and then the district attorney decides on whether charges. So I hope it's where they are at. And plus I was getting frustrated for like a year because as the report said, I did this from Largo, Florida.
Yeah,
That's where I'm at. And the Los Angeles police did an AOA report, which is assisting other agencies. And so the Largo police did it. They were wonderful, right on it. And the LA, getting a hold of the LAPD, as they're so big and there's so much crime, right? And they're probably understaffed. I don't know. It's been hard to get through with anything and anybody. So I'm like, you know what? I got to get their attention, because the louder you blow the whistle, the more noise you make, the more ears and eyes will get on it, and that can lead to justice.
and I think that's what's happening because New York Post, you got Fox News, people are beginning to report on this. And we obviously heard of this case, but then there was a report initially, I think a week or so ago, where I spoke about it again. We were like, wait a minute, the police have collected this. The police are looking at this.
Right,
That's we were like, okay, wait a minute, what's going on now? And I believe you said that you mentioned that there is some kind of active investigation, and now that it's going to a different level. So now things are getting very serious. And I think that's expedited because you've come forward with your identity. And I think that strengthened everything massively. And I think that it's also going to help other men to come forward who also have hidden their identity, and that you're going to inspire them to be like, Diddy has done something to me as well, because you definitely aren't the only one. And he's
right,
gotten away with so much. And the fact that allegedly what Diddy has done to you, I can't even fathom somebody going through that. It's so extremely traumatic. So hopefully,
absolutely.
how is your mental right now? Because I feel like everything's coming back. You're speaking about it more. It's in the front of your mind. You're all these memories. So how are you mentally doing on that side
I'm
of the fence?
doing I'm doing well.
I feel like you are. I was gonna say you seem like you're doing.
Yeah, yeah, I'm doing better. Like after it happened, I was, brought to my knees. I was completely broken down. I was struggling with self-harm.
Hmm.
I understand the YouTube words. I don't want to say the
No, I
word, but I was
understand. Yeah.
I was struggling with that, and I've said this before. I after I went from Los Angeles after the incident. I went to Dallas, and I was staying at the Statler Hotel, which is a high building, and every day I would think about jumping off the roof because it kept recycling and recycling and recycling. And this is during the pandemic, right? So everybody's distance, like the social distancing, and I would just sit there and I'd be like, you know what, I'm gonna do it tomorrow. I'm gonna do something today different or something that I haven't done. And that got me through like each day. And I have a good support team. I have a great therapist. It's amazing having the law firm that I do. They're very high volume, high profile, high octane. They've been attacking this very aggressive. So, and also to finally be heard, because for years afterwards I wasn't heard, man. It
Right.
was a rough time. I went to the police.
Okay.
I did everything that I could. I went to the notorious B.I.G. estate. Like I said, I blew the whistle and it was silence constantly. So it's good to finally be heard.
I think it's extremely difficult as a man to just come forward and
It is.
express, why did Diddy SA me? Like, what did I do to him? You have all of these questions, and I personally felt like Diddy is somebody who was gay, who is behind the closet. That's just my personal opinion, and I feel like he would do these things to men because he could just simply get away with it. And so I can't even fathom how you were able to survive that shock. Uh,
Right, right. It is. It's humiliating. It makes you question your manhood. And it was really rough to be violated like that by another man. But and to answer your question about him being gay, um, like talking to my therapist, I have a wonderful therapist, and she says, sexual assault as it pertains to me, it's different for everybody,
hmm,
isn't about attraction and pleasure. It's about hate, rage,
control, yeah, ego.
domination, control. So it wasn't like this was an instant where he's attracted to me. This was an instant where he wanted to completely dominate me and control me and humiliate me, right? So it's been a very, very hard thing to process, right? So
There's just no words. I'm thinking about it now as you're just as we're talking about it, and I'm like, this shit is just crazy. Like to just,
right.
I'm trying to keep the interview professional, but it's just crazy to even have this man do this. And I'm glad that you're pursuing criminal charges. I think that is what's so important. Civil is, of course, you're right. In that's how I see it. You're entitled to compensation, civil, but also criminal. I think it's so important because people believe that once the trial has ended and that Diddy gets out of jail, everything's ended for his life. But obviously, you don't think that's the case because he's harmed many people. So my question to you as well is,
Mhm.
what were your thoughts, sorry, on the criminal trial? It's obviously all ended now. He's been sentenced. I don't believe you came to New York, or maybe you did for the trial. But what are your thoughts of it now that it's all wrapped up?
No, I was scared because Gene Deal was there.
Right.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm gonna try.
He seemed
I'm kidding.
stressed when he was there, from what I saw from the video.
He always seems stressed. He disses me for wearing glasses. It's like, bro, you need to wear glasses. Look at yourself. Anyways, everybody in the comments section, who's uglier, me or Gene Deal? I'm uglier than Gene Deal. I will quit doing interviews. Anyways,
Oh,
I thought the trial was, it was obviously a disappointment,
right. I
right?
agree. I completely agree.
It was obviously disappointment. And, I was speaking to this attorney for one of my other clients, and they can't fathom why they didn't use the guns, with the scratched off serial numbers. That's in the evidence. That's 10 years, he said. Like, you don't even have to go through a trial. Like, it's there. You've got it. He's dead to rights. So I don't understand that. But, we do got to respect
Court of
the,
law.
sys-
Yeah.
the court of law. We do got to respect the jury. I I don't understand why they didn't call as many witnesses or whatnot. But I will tell you this, New York and LA are very competitive. So I'm hoping that our criminal case, gets picked up and then, us LA cats, because I love LA, we can show New York how it's done in LA.
Right, because I really thought that in New York it was going to be shown to us how it's done. And
Right.
that didn't happen at all. The fact that he was facing life and it's obviously he's going to be out in 2 years now and he's moved prisons and he's it's just honestly a shock to me. And the jurors were smiling when they left. It just seemed like there was some corruption going on that we didn't know about. But because he's so big and because he's so famous, I do think that this case of yours hopefully will be picked up in LA and it will be another infamous trial that he will be facing.
I do too.
A
And
hundred
that's another,
percent.
yeah, and that's another thing about the criminal and civil is because, and this is what I, suggest to the other victims out there is who have civil cases, try to take it criminally as well, because that's gonna provide you with the evidence, the forensic evidence from phones, pinging phones, cell towers, messages, because what I've learned is they can still access all that data and that information. So that's what I'm excited about because we have them dead to rights as far as forensic evidence. So no one can ever dispute that. So
Interesting.
um, yeah.
I was told also that you have a book coming out. So is this something that you have written or are in the process? And what is your book in regards to? Is it about similar instances?
So we've been
Okay.
working on we've been working on the book for a while, right?
Right.
We just haven't figured out when exactly, to put it out. Obviously, we'd have to get the law firm to approve and be on board.
Right, right. Because you've got this pending. Yeah, that's a
You're
good one.
right. We'd have to be that, but we are in the finishing stages, and we're going to talk to them about pre-orders and stuff like that. But and then figure out how we're going to donate to the victims, because really, the book is to raise awareness for the victims. Because I know a lot of these victims are suffering. A lot of them have been blackballed or been humiliated at their home, and it's a struggle. So that's really what I want to do the book for, is to help the other victims.
And what is the book about? Is it about your journey in your life? And
It's about the journey and the life, and then obviously, what about the Diddy stuff. Chomp away. Work on the book.
I'm
Um,
excited for the book. Yes, I'm definitely
yeah.
excited for it. Do you have a name for it or any idea what it would be called in terms
No,
of
so
name?
so so we've had names. It's those things. It's like, oh, this is it.
Right, right,
This is a cover, and then maybe that's not it, that you
right,
think about the next day. So
right.
we're working on it. Soon there will be a pre-order link, like once it's all approved by everybody. And then obviously we'll let you know. And then we're going to figure out, how to donate the majority of that to the victims, some kind of victims funds, whoever. We want to set a fund to be able to donate to the victims out there who are struggling.
It's a very good idea. I completely commend you for that because I think
Hmm.
it's a really good incentive for a lot of people.
Right,
I just feel like it's happening everywhere.
right.
We're just
I
more
agree.
exposed. We're just more exposed to seeing it rather than
Yeah,
before everything was hidden. Now it's the access of social media, like we can have conversations like this,
absolutely.
which I think is definitely powerful. But I
Yes,
want to
sir.
thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you again, man. You're
Appreciate
wonderful. I love your sense of humor. I love
it.
your,
Thank you, bro.
I love your stuff. People always forward me your links, and I just crack up a lot, you know?
I
So,
really, I really appreciate it, man. I mean, I try.
yeah. All right, man. All right. Thanks again.
No worries, man. No worries.
All right.
Enjoy the rest of your day, bro.